Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of CrohnsCast Live. Tonight we're sitting down with Nick Jackson, aka JD Muscle. Really excited to have Nick on. If you follow him on Instagram, you'll see he's a pretty powerful character, so it's going to be a really wonderful and interesting show. So, without further ado, let's welcome Nick into the room.
How you doing?
Hey Nick,
Johnny?
how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I've been following you for a while, and all I can say is that I am in awe of your physical performance. I've never known someone to be able to lift so much, let alone with an ostomy.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much. It's been quite the journey, that's for sure, in regards to having an ostomy and surgeries and all the things you could imagine happening, all happening within a 3-year period. So,
what I would like to start with, mate, is if you could just let the viewers know what was Nick doing before he was diagnosed. So, what was life prior to diagnosis?
So before I was diagnosed, I had just finished competing at a national bodybuilding competition in Miami of 2017, and it was my first national competition, and I placed very well. I was in the top 5, which is very rare for a first-time competitor to place so high. Usually, you have to earn your stripes first, but I was able to impress the judges enough to allow me to be placed that high. And so I was in the midst of getting ready for another competition. I was in my off season and I was lifting, I was eating and everything. And about, I would say, May of 2018 is when I really started to notice a difference in my digestion. And I really started noticing a difference in how my body was responding to the food I was taking in. And at first, I thought maybe it was just the amount of food I was eating, and maybe I wasn't drinking enough water to kind of help with the digestion process. So I didn't really think much of it. And then it kind of gradually progressed. And about, I would say, later on in May is when I really started to kind of decline. I really didn't have the energy to do a lot of things. I wasn't able to eat. Sleep was pretty much non existent. I think the best night of sleep I had during that time, maybe 1 hour, because I was always up going to the bathroom, or I had some kind of pain in my stomach. And so I finally went to a gastrointernalist here in Utah, and I told them about my symptoms and everything. And so they lined me up to get a colonoscopy. And once they did that, they figured out that I was diagnosed with also ulcerative colitis, but they wanted to be sure that it wasn't Crohn's. So we had a couple more tests after that, and they started me on a steroid regimen to kind of get my stomach under control. And so I started that regimen in July of 2018, and I started feeling better with this steroid regimen and the things that I were taking. I was able to start eating again. I was sleeping better. And then it kind of all crashed in on me in August of 2018, August 2nd. As a matter of fact, I was at work and I was sitting at my desk, and about 9:30 in the morning, I had just this awful pain in my stomach, and I was feeling very hot, and I felt like I had to uh, throw up and then also go to the bathroom at the same time. So it was like a mix of different feelings and everything. And I went home and I thought maybe I could just sleep it off, maybe just a random pain or something like that. And then I realized it wasn't getting any better. The pain was increasing, increasing, increasing. When the initial pain going back, the initial pain on a scale of 1 to 10 was at a 9. And then 2 hours after that, it was a 12. And then an hour after that, it was a 13. So it just kept getting progressively worse. So rushed to the ER. They did a CT on my stomach, a CT scan on my stomach. And they noticed that my entire large intestine, colon and all, was just riddled with ulcers, and there were perforations all in my bowel and everything like that. So they immediately rushed me to surgery. I really didn't have a lot of time to process it because I was so at risk of becoming septic. They didn't really want to waste any more time than what I already wasted getting into the ER. So they rushed me down to surgery. My fiance was calling my parents, letting them know what was going on. And my parents are in Memphis. And for those who don't know, it's a 22-hour difference in drive time between Utah and Tennessee. So
serious distance.
Yeah, serious distance. So you have my mom, me and my mom are very close. Me and my dad are very close. They're still together, but just different relationships, mom and son and everything like that. So she's having a meltdown because her child is in surgery and she can't be here. So the surgery goes well. They remove my entire large intestine and I was given a ileostomy bag. And so I had that ileostomy bag for 8 or 9 months. And in the period of that 8 or 9 months, I had 2 more surgeries and also more biopsies and testing just to make sure what my diagnosis actually was. So if you remember in my previous words, I mentioned that they initially diagnosed me with ulcerative colitis, but Crohn's and colitis are so similar that it's hard to really separate the two when it comes to symptoms. So we did test after test after test while I went through each step of my surgeries. And each surgeon, each biopsy came back and they diagnosed me officially with ulcerative colitis.
Man, that is a seriously quick journey again. Like it seems to come quite a few guests now that I've had, from initial sort of symptoms to having significant reaction or significant symptoms where they're hospitalized and needing surgery. There's quite a few people now that are going through that journey, and it's not a journey that I'm myself used to. How did it make you feel? Like, what were your feelings at the time?
So when they told me about having to have a temporary ostomy bag, I immediately thought, how will my life be going forward? Because I've heard the horror stories about ostomy bags. I've heard different things about how your life changes. You can't be so active anymore. And all these different things where you have to carry extra bags with you. You have to carry all these different things just in case something might happen. And then I also was thinking, what is this going to do with my bodybuilding? Because this is something that I really love doing. I love going to the gym. It's not only for the competition aspect, but it's a huge stress relief for me. And it's an ability for me to kind of escape from the rigors of the world, where I can just focus an hour and a half just on me and not have to think about anything else. Just let all those thoughts and worries kind of slip away. So all those things were going through my head. And I remember I cried a little bit on that initial diagnosis of having to go to surgery and everything like that, because I just didn't know what the future was going to hold. But I remember one of the things that brought me comfort was the surgeon came into my room the next day and we had a really good conversation. And he said, there's a lot of people that walk around with an ileostomy bag or an ostomy bag, and you would never know. And there's a lot of people that live active lives with an ostomy bag, and you would never know, because you can still be active, you can still live a fulfilling life, even though you had or you have an ostomy. So I really took that to heart, and it really changed my perspective on having it, because I realized once I was able to get out of the hospital and I fully recovered from that initial surgery, there was nothing that would prevent me from getting back into the gym and doing things that I used to do. Only difference, I would just have to slowly work my way back.
Yeah, it's such a honest statement to make. I really actually enjoyed listening to how you went through those series of coming to terms with the news that you were going to have an ostomy. So with that, like, what has it taught you? So like, how has life changed since you got your ostomy?
So during the period when I had my ostomy bag, the biggest thing was just paying attention to it. It's almost like having to keep up with your wallet or your keys, in the sense of you have to take care of it. You have to be conscious of it. You have to be conscious how you move, how you sleep. I remember I bought a ostomy belt to kind of keep the bag steady, and I wish I still had it. I would show it to you. Essentially, it just wraps around your waist, and you measure it by how big your waist is, and that's how they create it specifically for you. And it has a pouch on the side of where your ostomy bag is, and you kind of just slip the bag into the pouch, and it keeps it steady throughout the day. It keeps it steady as you lift, as you go about your day, doing anything active. It keeps it sitting still, so you don't have to worry about it popping off or anything like that. But I remember the biggest challenge that I had was a few weeks after my surgery. My fiance she was competing in Pittsburgh, and I wanted to be there for her. I wanted to be support for her. So even though I was a few weeks out of surgery, I still went on the plane ride, and I didn't know what to expect. The biggest challenge that I had,
Sorry,
and I completely was a few weeks. Okay, I completely forgot to take extra bags onto the plane with me. Instead of having it as a checked bag, I forgot to bring it on with me as a carry-on. And so I thought, it's attached on, and I put a new bag on, so I don't have to worry about, maybe popping off. And we get to our connecting flight in Houston, and I realized my bag had popped off in the middle of the flight. And I was embarrassed by it, because I didn't have an extra bag to put on. I didn't have anything to really clean up with. And I remember going to the stewardess, and I said, "Hey, do you have any type of towels or anything like that? My ostomy bag popped off." And she was very understanding, which makes me believe that maybe someone in her life may be dealing with an ostomy, or it's not the first time someone's been on a plane and their ostomy bag has come off. So she didn't make a big deal about it. She brought me some extra towels. And what I ended up doing is I kept the same bag on. I just put a whole bunch of towels around it so it could soak up whatever comes out into that bag. But there was still a smell that came with the ileostomy bag. So I'm sitting there, and I know other people can smell it, and I feel so embarrassed. I'm just ready to get off the plane, ready to get to our destination, and I'm stressed, and I'm trying to be supportive for my fiance on the flight, make sure she's comfortable and everything like that. But we finally get to our hotel, and I rush to the bathroom, get it cleaned up. But for that, pretty much that entire weekend, I was always, after that experience on the plane, I became even more conscientious of my ostomy bag. So I'm always touching it and feeling around it, make sure it's in place, make sure there's no leaks or anything like that. And then after that experience, it allowed me to kind of learn on the curve and really learn how to properly attach my bag and also to not forget to bring extras.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a hard lesson you learned on that one. That's
most definitely.
I genuinely, I don't know what, I don't think I ever had a leak where I didn't have supplies. I think, well, the only time I had a leak traveling was driving home after, I think it was either my second or I think it must have been my second surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like this dampness, and then I was like, oh my God, no. But luckily we had to, but we had services to pull in, and I had like a boot full of ostomy supplies. So like, I genuinely, I don't know how I would have coped on a plane knowing I've got a connecting flight.
It was probably one of the worst moments during this whole experience of having an ostomy, by far the worst. But we made it through.
So what were your initial thoughts whenever you got it? What was the initial conception, and then how did you move through to where you are now?
So originally I had a little bit of a self-consciousness about it. I didn't want to really take off my shirt or anything like that, but I realized that there's a lot of people who are going through this, and I wanted to at least be one person that people can look to and say, you know, he has an ostomy and he's still living his best life. So I kind of began to own it, and I began to post photos on my social media of me and my ostomy bag. I never went as far as showing my actual intestine hanging out of my stomach. I didn't go as far as that because I didn't know if my followers would want to see something so graphic.
I think that's trending right now, isn't it?
Yes, I've actually seen people who have follow a couple of people on Instagram, a couple women who have ostomies, and they are very open about it. They show it. They show how they take care of their bags and everything like that. And I kind of wish I did something like that on my personal media accounts, because I think that would be so helpful for anyone who has just received or just gotten their ostomy bag, just to see how they can continue to take care of it and what processes they can use to take care of it. But yeah, that's definitely a thing. People are showing their ostomy. So I never got that far, but I never shied away. Once I began to own having an ostomy bag, I never shied away from posting pictures of it, be it a Flex Friday or Transformation Tuesday, whatever social media trend day it is. I never shied away from it, because it's a part of me. It's who I am. And I'm going to show that you can still build muscle. You can still be a fitness addict. You can still go to the gym and lift and do all the things that you used to do prior to the ostomy. And that's what I wanted to convey to anyone who is dealing with Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, ostomy bag or not.
Oh, totally. And so you were into fitness before you got diagnosed.
Yes.
Are you into it more now, or is it just been a continuous journey for you?
I think it's a continuous journey with a little bit of an asterisk. I think I have a little bit more appreciation for fitness now than I did prior to having an ostomy. And there's also an extra bit of motivation behind it as well. I think now, having gone through what I did, I'm not taking anything for granted. And it's not to say that I took things for granted before, but you know how people always say you don't take things for granted, but a lot of people don't have real challenging experiences to really put that to the test. And so now that I've had that for me personally, I can really take those words to heart of not taking things for granted. And so each day that I'm able to go and do the thing that I love to do, I cherish that moment. I don't let it pass. I don't let it slip. I don't think too far ahead. I get too far ahead of myself. I really cherish the moment because there could be a time where my body says we can't do it, or my body says we can't do what you're doing now because we just can't handle it. So I'm really appreciating it more now than I was before.
Yeah, and it's so great to see. I noticed your post today was you posting the first time getting back into your posing budgies.
Yes,
Do you
yes.
want to talk to me a little bit about that? So how did you get into going on stage, and how did you find your way to this part of the fitness industry?
So 2012. Well, even before that. So I had a lot of friends who were really into fitness when I was in college, and a few of them were active bodybuilders. And they would always talk to me about it, and they would say, "You really have the physique to do it." And I would always tell them, I would say, there's no way that I can do bodybuilding because there's dieting and I love eating too much and I don't want to wear like these tiny little trunks on stage. Like I don't want to do any of that. But fast forward a little bit to 2012, it was my first year of law school, and I remember I was thinking about it, and I remember sitting in my apartment one day and I thought to myself, I didn't want to get 60, 70, 80 years old and look back on my youth and say, I wish I would have done that. So that's what kind of fueled it for me, is just to do it and see what happens. So a buddy of mine, Josh Brown, I worked with him to kind of help me get my diet together and what all to expect with dieting and everything like that. And I stepped on stage in the summer of 2013, and I actually won my first show as a novice. I took the overall as well, and I had a couple coaches backstage, Wade Wilburn being one of them, who said, you know, you really potentially have a future in this. And so he helped me with my second show after that, and I placed fairly well, placed second in my class, working with him. And then after that, I moved to Utah and competed in Utah and won first place here. So it's been a gradual progression, and it's become such a hobby and something that I've really loved to do because, one, it's an individual sport where everything falls on you. Like you control your workouts, you control how well you do based on how you follow your coach's plan. So it really is something that is driven by you, and that's what I love about it. And also I enjoy seeing how the body changes with different foods that you eat or lack of food that you eat. So it's a two-faceted appreciation for the sport for me.
Have you continued to do fitness shows post ostomy as well? Like when was your most recent show?
So I haven't competed post ostomy yet. I'm actually planning to compete in October. It will be my first show in 3 years, all with the surgeries, because my last surgery was completed in March of 2019. So I wanted to take enough time to allow my body to get adjusted to the new functionings. And I also wanted to take the time to build the muscle back that I lost over the previous time to allow myself to get back to where I felt comfortable enough to get back on stage again.
How I'm curious, because you're quite a big guy. Like, how much weight did you lose? Like, what did you drop to?
So in the summer before that first surgery, I was 242 pounds. And by the time I got out of the hospital, so I was in the hospital for 12 days. By the time I left the hospital, I was 179 pounds. Yeah. It was quite the shocker. I remember when I got home from the hospital, and because I hadn't really looked at myself in the mirror. I was always I was getting assistance, taking showers, but I was always in the hospital bed and getting up and walking around, but I never really took the moment to really look at myself in the mirror. And so when I got home from the hospital and I looked at myself in the mirror, I remember I cried. I really did, because it was twofold. One, to see how much I had lost during that period, and then also just to see how my body looked at that time, having all these bandages and everything across my stomach, having this ostomy bag here, not feeling like myself and how I used to be. So it just all came barreling out in just one big ball of emotion.
Totally. Have you gone through a complete training cycle yet with regards to like going through the cut and everything like that, like getting stage ready, so to speak?
So we're doing that right now. I am 8 weeks out from my competition. So we started my contest preparation 6 weeks ago. So we do about a 14-week contest preparation. So I'm 6 weeks into that. It's interesting to see how my body responds to how my diet plan changes. It hasn't been anything crazy or anything painful in the sense of what I'm eating. Just to give, for example, what I'm eating right now is very lean meat, so chicken, turkey. I have a little bit of beef mixed in as well, and a lot of rice, and also some green veggies mixed in. And I've had an opportunity to talk with other people who are either dealing with colitis or Crohn's, or who are in the midst of their surgeries to have their temporary ostomy and J-pout surgery and everything like that. And they all mention how different foods affect them. One of my followers told me that he can't eat green beans because his body just can't process it as it used to. And so I count myself lucky in the sense that my body is able to digest and process these foods without real any issue.
Oh. Okay, guys, we seem to have lost Nick for a short minute there. I think you just went on freeze, did you?
Can you see me now? Am I moving again?
Yeah, you're moving again. You're moving again. Oh. That's perfect. So what sort of things have you noticed most about this cut-in period? Like, have you, in terms of energy levels, hydration levels, what has it been like? Because I know you gradually cut back the calories, from my understanding, and really limit carbohydrates as much as possible.
So right now, we haven't really done any drastic changes as far as carbohydrates go. There's been some small cuts here and there. Energy wise, my energy's been pretty good. We're doing cardio in the morning and cardio in the evening. So I know that the moment is coming where I'm going to just feel tired every day. I'm waiting on it because I know it's coming. But right now, energy is good. Food processing is good. I think as far as hydration goes, I'm really conscientious of it, because not having a colon to absorb the water during the bathroom process really affects how hydrated you stay, because you lose more water going to the bathroom, not having a colon. So I'm really staying on top of drinking enough water, drinking enough electrolytes so I don't get dehydrated and it doesn't mess up my digestion. And that's the one thing that I have appreciated during all of this, is learning so much about digestion and learning so much about the stomach and learning so much about the colon and all these different things. I had an elementary understanding of it prior.
Mm-hmm.
And now I feel like I have at least a 2-year college understanding of what our body is going through. So drinking enough water to help your body process your foods has been something that I have really been focusing on. So I drink about 1.5 gallons, almost 2 gallons of water a day, just to stay on top of, to make sure I'm staying on top of my hydration, and that my stomach is never feeling like it's pushing harder than it needs to.
Yeah, I mean, that's you're obviously in the best place and paying enough attention to what you're doing to go through this. For me, listening to it, just it's quite a scary listen. But obviously, when you're paying attention like you are doing, like I'm sure you're writing diaries up to the high do about when you're eating, what you're eating, how much. It's very, very specific, probably weighed as well. So from that context, obviously, it is reasonably safe, and I'm sure you'd know yourself if it was going in a direction that wasn't. But yeah, it's just like, it's when I think about, because I know a couple of friends of mine who do this process, and knowing what we know about having ostomies and how much of a reduction some people can have in absorbing nutrients and staying hydrated.
Right.
When you go into that cut cycle, I'm like going, wow. and then you've still got to train as well. You know, you still got to be lifting those weights.
Yeah.
It's serious. So with regards to actually training, what is it about training that keeps you motivated? What's keeping you going to the gym?
I think right now it's the hunger to get back on stage. I love competing. I really do. It's something that I always look forward to when it's competition time. Getting up on stage, posing with other competitors, and then having the opportunity to have my own posing routines and things like that. I look forward to all of that. So right now, the hunger and motivation to get back on stage is what really is fueling me to get back in the gym and to push the weight and to follow my diet as 100% as I can, because I want to be the best that I can be come stage time. And then also to be an example among other people, because I know there's other fitness personalities out there. I have not personally found them, but I know they're out there that deal with some type of digestive issue. And so I want to be one of those examples that other people can look to and say, he has gone through this, he deals with this, yet he has found a way to be his best despite all of it. And so all those things wrapped up into one keep me motivated and keep me fueled.
Yeah, I know some powerful reasons to do it as well. I mean, it's a fairly big why, I would say, and a very admirable why. What would your advice be on that sort of context to people that are newly diagnosed and maybe wanting to follow in your footsteps?
So I would say first is really learn your body. I think that is number one for sure, because you can read online about how different people react or how different bodies react to different surgeries. Because after my first surgery, I was online, my fiance was online. We're trying to read up on what to expect, what to expect about my body. What am I going to expect about digestion? What foods do I have to stay away from? All these different things. So, and they kind of scared me a little bit because a lot of these stories, people are saying, I can't digest this food, I can't digest this, or I have to stay away from these things because it causes so much inflammation and pain. So I think it's important to read those stories, but on the flip side, I think it's also important to know your body and to pay attention to your body and pay attention to what you eat. And then also, if you are first coming out of surgery, really gradually introduce foods into your daily diet. So slowly introduce carbs. Don't go out and just wolf down a fat pizza somewhere or some fat burger and fries. Just slowly introduce those things because you want to get your body accustomed to digesting those things. I think also paying attention to how often you go to the bathroom, so you know uh, what causes you to go to the bathroom much more than other foods may. So if you eat a whole bunch of broccoli in a day, we all know that broccoli is high in fiber. You're probably going to the bathroom a lot more if you compare it to limiting how much broccoli you're intaking, and also how fiber affects your digestion. Because I know there's quite a few people who, if they eat a lot of broccoli, it slows down their digestion and can cause inflammation and pain because it's a lot of food to break down as far as your stomach goes. So ultimately, I think it's important to know your body, gradually introduce foods, and then make it a progression. Don't go 0 to 100 quickly. Work your way step by step.
Yeah, I think that's great advice for them. So, think similar theme really, but what would you say, knowing what you know now, to your 10-year-old self?
Oh wow! So, what would I say to myself 10 years ago?
Yeah, 10 years ago, or your 10-year-old self.
Wow. I would say pay more attention. I know I feel like I've said that a lot, but it's really important to pay attention to your body. And I feel like that's what I should have been doing a lot more than what I used to do, because I would eat foods and not really think about it and just chalk it up as a stomach ache or stomach pain, or it'll go away in a couple hours. I just need to lay down and stretch out. I'll be fine. But I really think if I truly paid attention to my body and I truly paid attention to how my stomach was digesting food, how I was going to the bathroom, all these different things, if I paid attention to all of that, it's quite possible that I could have spared myself the surgeries and all the traumatic experience of that first surgery, and then all of those different things, if I'd just taken the time to listen to my body, and as soon as I noticed something was not right, go straight to a gastro doctor, because it took me almost a full month from the initial experience of pain to actually going to see a gastro doctor, because I felt like, oh, it's fine. It'll go away. I'll just sleep it off. And I wish that I didn't do something like that, because I probably could have saved myself the experience of what I went through. But on the flip side, it was as stressful as the surgeries were, and how, for lack of a better word, inconvenient those surgeries were, I've learned so much, and I wouldn't change a thing.
I mean, I think that's quite a powerful way to go about it. There obviously is some things you'd like to say to yourself, but the walk that you've taken, the journey that you've had, has ultimately shaped who you are now. And my feeling is that you don't have any regrets. And I think that's
none whatsoever. As crazy as it sounds, if if I was able to go back in time and rewrite what happened in 2018, I think I would keep it the same because I felt like I've grown so much as an individual going through what I did that I don't want to change that. I don't want to change my outlook on life. I don't want to change the experiences that I've had. I don't want to change the narrative. I think I've gained so much from that experience that I wouldn't want to lose that.
And I think it's so important. It's like, we always get asked, and a lot of times we might even say just ourselves unprompted about, oh, I wish I made that decision. I wish I did this way. And it's like, what's an interesting, like, I'm one of these weird people that will unpick that thread and go, if you made that decision, where would that lead to? And like, do you know what I mean? Like, just the smallest change.
Yeah.
When you look at it, like literally your entire life has changed. So you're like, how your life as you know it would not exist. It's like, if I made one change to my life, like for example, not having to have an ostomy, I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have the kids that I've got. I wouldn't be living where I am now and wouldn't be talking to you. And it's just like life as I know it, it would be 100% different. I don't know what different, but do you know what I mean? It's just like, it's impossible.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Oh, yeah, no, it's such a wonderful thing to think about. Okay, so we've reached the part of this show that I call the three truths. I kind of robbed it off Lewis Howes, and essentially all of the things you've ever created, everything you've ever done has disappeared. So you might have become Mr. Universe, but it doesn't exist anymore. Okay. And you get to leave behind three truths, or your three truths, like life lessons that you would want the world to learn. What would your three truths be?
One, I would say the importance of humility. I think being humble is so important because you don't know what's coming at you the next day. You don't know what's coming at you in the next hour, next 10 minutes. And being humble enough to cherish the moments and be humble enough to realize that things can change in a blink of an eye. So don't take anything for granted. Don't put yourself so high that you can't come back to reality. I think that would be one of my truths. The second is the importance of determination. I think that the idea and the definition of determination, I think I've filled out completely during my surgeries and also after. I was determined to continue to live the life that I lived before I got my ostomy bag, and I'm determined to live it even after. I think it helped on those low moments to continue to be determined to push through those moments where, like the instance on the plane, not getting so low that I just kind of fall apart, but determined to rise up above it and do better the next day. I think determination is another truth that I would leave. And the third truth, it's not a single word. It's more of surrounding yourself with supportive people. I know myself, I consider myself very mentally strong, but I know that I could not have gotten through all of it without a supporting cast of great people. And I had great friends around me. I had my fiance, I had my parents, I had my fiance's family. And you can't put a price tag on how much positive energy affects people. And when you're able to have so much positive energy around you, you can't help but succeed. And I think that is so important, not just with dealing with an ostomy bag, but just life in general. Having good, positive, supportive people around you can make the hardest tasks seem easy. So those three, I think, would be my truths.
I think again, you're nailing it with these. To have humility, determination, and surround yourself with good support networks are, again, I would almost say that they're virtually essential to succeeding in life in general. So yeah, no, that's great, and so fluid, so straight off the tongue. Do you know what I mean? There wasn't much delay there, so it shows you obviously lived a life by those three truths. So what's next for Nick Jackson? Where are we going? When's the show, and what's beyond the show?
So the show's in October 17th. And after that, we'll be going to Miami, Florida for a national competition. The hope is that I become an IFBB pro at that show. We'll see what happens. But that's kind of the intermediate future. Beyond that, it is becoming a wonderful husband. I'm getting married next week, as a matter of fact.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you so much. So being a wonderful husband and hopefully a wonderful father to my children, those are, I think, the greater plans for Nick Jackson. Outside of bodybuilding, outside of fitness, those things will be there. But I think the ultimate goals are to be the best husband that I can be and the best father I can be.
Yeah, perfect. Many congratulations on your pending wedding. I hope you have a fantastic time. Have you been able to get away? Are you going to be able to get away anywhere? Are you going anywhere special, or is that all hush hush?
The honeymoon's hush hush, but we will be getting away. We're going to be doing it in November, so it'll be nice. It really will, to kind of get away from the craziness that is the world right now. So
yeah, it's perfect. Do you want to just let people know where they can find you if they want to choose to follow you?
So you can find me on Instagram at jdmuscle. It's j.d.muscle. And I pretty much accept all followers. I have a private account, but I pretty much accept everyone. And my DMs are always open to questions. My DMs are always open to kind of pick my brain about anything. So I welcome new followers. I welcome you guys to chat with me. I'm always open and honest about whatever you want to ask. So feel free.
Mate, no, thank you so much. I'd just like to take a moment to appreciate yourself and just say thank you so much for coming onto the show and for just being so honest about your journey to date and also what you're doing in sort of the wider sort of social space for IBD, you know, getting out there in your budgie smugglers, as much as that might be a funny ha-ha for us right now in this chat. It's such an amazing thing to see your journey as an ostomy, your fortitude to have come through all of those experiences and not allow that to deter you from your goal, you know, like showing, as you said earlier, your determination to fulfill your life stream. And also, you know, surround yourself with that beautiful support and, you know, your goals to be a loving husband and father. I just want to thank you. I can't thank you enough for what you're doing within that sort of area, and wishing you all the best for the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the words you gave, and I thank you for reaching out to me to be a part of this podcast today. I was very excited and looking forward to it. So I greatly appreciate you having me on.
Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure's mine as well. Thank you so much.
Okay, guys, that's the end of the show for us, and I will be catching you up in the next week. As we move into September, we're going to do some talks that are focusing a little bit more on women's health, looking at ostomy surgery and J-pouch surgery, and how that might impact the female body, if you will. But thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we will catch you on the next episode. So bye for now.